Imagine being diagnosed with a life-threatening and a life-altering disease, and then upon speaking to your doctor, having a treatment designed specifically for you, and it does not work out in the end. What happens? Who do you blame? Why did things not go as planned? Well, it can be quite an anxiety-inducing moment for you since you are undergoing a treatment, but you know it could really make things so much worse. Imagine being blamed for it not working in the first place. How then should a person who's supposed to be helped feel any better because of that same treatment? That is the same when it comes to drug addicts and alcoholics who simply want to quit the abuse. If a system is designed to help them quit, why should they be made to feel bad and be blamed for it not working if it fails for them? I personally have suffered a great deal from a similar experience. I tried following 12-step programs, Narcotics Anonymous specifically, and it did not help. I was only made to feel worse after being told that I was the reason. If you've seen any of my videos, you would know I had been actively addicted to drugs such as heroin for 22 years, and I tried everything during that time. Before I finally became clean in late 2016, I had been a part of various programs, including 12 steps like Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous. I attended meetings, I worked with the sponsor, and I diligently attended to my service position, and none of which helped. But that's okay, and that's why I'm making this video, to tell you not to worry if it doesn't work out for you. It's simply not the program for you, and you should not be blaming yourself. Now, I'm not out here saying that 12-step programs like AA and NA simply do not work at all. I'm just saying that they do not necessarily work for everyone. Countless people have benefited from them and have changed their lives. But as every person is unique, so are their individual needs and circumstances. That is precisely why 12-step programs did not work for me. They might work for a lot of us, but not necessarily for everyone. They are very well thought out though, and they have a pretty decent success rate. But the problem is often with the same underlying assumptions about addiction that do not pay enough attention to everyone's individuality and circumstances. As I said, I have been sober for over 4 years now, but not because of NA or AA meetings. You might be wondering, what exactly helped me then? And you would probably even be particularly anxious if they're not working for you. Well, ease your mind. Here are some reasons they did not work for me. Try and see if you have similar problems, and then analyze your own unique situation and see if you should take a different approach for your recovery journey. If you have ever attended a 12-step meeting, you would know that there's a certain step that they all begin with, and that is reading out all the 12 steps out loud. That is a very robust way of emphasizing that everything must be rigidly followed, and quite frankly is a rather mean way of marginalizing anyone who fails to succeed in these programs. One of these statements, following the declaration of all of the steps, comes directly from Alcoholics Anonymous Big Book. And that statement is, those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to this simple program. Usually men and women who are constitutionally incapable of being honest with themselves. They are naturally incapable of grasping and developing a manner of living which demands rigorous honesty. Honestly, this statement is something that is completely unnecessary for someone who's already struggling. Such a practice questions the honesty and the integrity of someone who was ironically honest enough to begin treatment in the first place. You only start working on a problem after you realize there is a problem to be worked on. For a person like me, who had been far too honest with myself, since I had lost too much already, and let me tell you, 22 years is a long time to be addicted to drugs. I had made the leap to start treatment only to be told that if I lapsed even the slightest, it is a trait of my own questionable character. Now, I'm not gonna go on praising how hard I've been having it or how good I am, but think of it this way. For an addict who's probably already depressed and finding an escape from their worries and stress in life in the form of drug and alcohol abuse, does this just not add to their stress? I mean, seriously, if I get more depressed and I start questioning my own character, or even if I start feeling added pressure to prove my honesty, am I not more likely to go back to the drug abuse? I was not ready to trust my life with a system that was ready to make assumptions about my character. Again, my experience might not be the same for everyone, and some people can take this pretty well or even brush it off as just a part of the process. But then again, we are not all the same. The second major issue I have was confronted with the lack of individual attention and diagnosis. I mean, yes, Sherlock, we're all addicts here, surprise! What else do you really know about our problem? Addiction to alcohol or drugs is quite often a result of deeper issues. A person who is addicted to something is quite often suffering something else on a psychological level. For most of the junkies and addicts that we see in parks or under bridges, they are almost always suffering from something. You know, that might be poverty, it might be neglect, trauma, who knows? The 12 steps, they call it all a disease and treat it as if it's the same for everyone. They all know they have a problem, which is why they're even there in the first place. To tell them repeatedly about their disease is like scratching a wound. It treats the addiction separately from the underlying causes, and that seems like a pretty hollow approach to me. I mean, when I went there, I was looking for something more engaging on a personal level. Someone who would ask me why I started using, someone who would offer me some solutions. Even if it's something that you want to classify as a disease, please let it be known that it's a different disease for everyone. These programs think of addiction solely as a medical problem, and just like medicine, they look for a one-shoe-fits-all solution. I mean, of course, it's going to cause physiological problems, and it's unhealthy for our physical bodies. But if you give me something to consume that's going to reduce the effects of addiction without eliminating the cause of my addiction, I am probably going to go back to abusing drugs to relieve my pain. If you want to make a medical intervention, at least perform some neuroimaging at first. See what parts of my brains have been troubled by my addiction. Let me know why I feel the way that I feel and what I can do about it. Another major reason it did not work out for me was that I was made to expect too much. But can you really blame an addict for trusting someone to help? I mean, they designed 30-day inpatient programs aimed at helping a person get rid of addiction. What should you expect to happen? Come out completely clean after 30 days, never to touch the drug again, right? Well, this is a rigid timeline, and follow-ups make for a very insufficient mechanism that only caters to the most typical of scenarios. If after so much time, I am told that it is my fault the programs did not work, then I am more likely to go back to drugs to ease the pain, and that's exactly what I did during my 22 years. I am not saying that you should have no dedication. You definitely should have dedication to your sobriety. But if you are human enough to make a mistake, you should be accepted and brought back on track. To completely shut you off as unwilling is simply unfair. Addicts are not the only one to blame though. Diabetics and other patients undergoing restraining treatments are likely to misbehave every now and again. It's simply human nature. This lack of inclusivity to different compliance levels is not convenient for all of us, and it definitely was not for me. Lastly, my major concern was how the 12 steps made me feel like an outcast. I mean, a couple of addicts singled out and talking to each other under strict supervision made me feel as if I was more insane than I already was. Clearly, I did have a problem, but the outside world lack of empathy was a very cold experience. Instead of positive reinforcements, I was left on my own to go buy a book without compassion and understanding. In this age and time when everyone is so interconnected, we need to connect to those in society that are disadvantaged, even if that disadvantage comes as a result of our own wrong decisions. We are human and we make mistakes. Addiction is certainly nothing you should be rewarded for, but it does not warrant any type of discrimination against you, especially if you are struggling to make things better. I needed this compassion, and there was nothing in the 12 Steps literature or their programs that offered me any. This was all just me though, and I cannot reiterate enough how so many people did benefit off these 12-step programs. But my point is, we should not take it as a universal truth that stands true for all addicts. Now, what should be done? First of all, we need to move into the future. I mean, the 12 steps have practically been untouched since they were published in 1939. My drug of choice, heroin, it came out in 1980. We really need to modify how we help suffering addicts and alcoholics to fit newer emerging understandings. If you are concerned that the 12 steps are not working for you, look at your addiction. Do your own research and figure out what physiological and especially psychological factors are coming into play for your addiction. Of course, you're honest with yourself, and that's why you're even concerned in the first place. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. And above all, do not give up hope. In my 22 years of addiction, I had countless times where I had broken down. I simply could not see any hope of me coming out of the darkness that I was in, and I almost took my life a few times. But trust me, if you harbor the will, things do tend to work out in the end. You will persevere. If I was able, as a homeless, strung-out prostitute with a $250 a day heroin habit, to find my way out of the darkness, you can too, and I believe in you. If you are looking for someone to talk to, I might not be an expert or a therapist, but I probably have some level of relatability to your own situation. The purpose of these videos is to offer any help that I can to benefit anyone who wants to quit. If you want advice, suggestions, or you just want someone to vent to, my Twitter and Instagram DMs are always open to everyone. I am not the kind of person to judge, and since I was an addict with my own unique set of problems for 22 long years, I could probably lend a helpful ear. And that also goes to any family members of a suffering addict. I'm an accountant, and I know that things can get rough in this economy, especially if you're struggling with addiction. It takes so much away from you, and I can completely relate to that. I promise to help even by donating what I can. All you have to do is reach out and tell me what's going on. What I am offering, it might not be much, but I think that having someone to talk to can help tremendously. Just give me a chance to be your friend and a companion through this tough journey, because boy, did I wish I had someone to help me back when I was struggling. I might just be one person, but with everyone that I help, as the saying goes, individually I am just one drop, but together we are the ocean. I want to continue helping you guys and others like us. And for that, all I ask is for your support to help me spread my message. All you have to do is subscribe to my channel, like and share my videos so that other people can know that they have this random friend on the internet that relates to them and is willing to help. Words are powerful, but our actions are penetrating. Our actions affect and shape others that are around us. Because of that, be the change in the world that you want to see, and I hope to see you in my next video.